This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
This is The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Now, here's Frank Morano.
Did you know that some planets are as light as cotton candy? Meet the Kepler-51 system, home to the mysterious super-puff planets. These worlds are the size of Saturn, but have depth low they'd float in water. Recently, astronomers made an exciting discovery, a fourth planet, Kepler-51e, using NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. This new planet was found through transit timing variations, where the gravitational pull of unseen planets alters the orbits of their neighbors.
It was definitely pretty frightening having to worry about whether the ceiling was going to collapse on us. And I'm losing my balance because of the swaying motion of the earthquake. And with refrigerator doors swinging open back and forth right in front of me, I'm having to dodge all the bottles and merchandise that's falling out of there while also holding on to my two coworkers.
Sierra Space is taking significant strides in the development of its modern spaceplane, Dream Chaser, with a vision to transform space travel into a routine and reliable endeavor. Slated for its first launch in 2025, the program's progress has reached a pivotal stage as the final assembly and testing of its first test vehicle, Tenacity, near completion.
We need to get this test flight right, this Artemis II test flight right, to ensure the success of our return to the moon and then return safely to Earth in order for the rest of the Artemis campaign to proceed.
Well, I don't know how the biggest story in the country right now is not the fact that there are drones flying all over New Jersey and all over New York, and nobody knows what they are. Government officials, members of Congress, governors, the FBI, all saying, we have no idea what they are. I mean, we don't know who's doing this. We don't know why they're doing this. And this seems like certainly a lot of cause for concern. Those are a few of the issues, in addition to everything that you just heard, that will be part of our cosmic conversations.
The Other Side of Midnight presents from the spiral to the elliptical to the lenticular to the irregular to the quasars, galaxies. Where are we in the cosmic evolutionary picture? Always remember to keep your eyes to the skies. The following conversations are cosmic conversations with Steve Cates, a.k.a. Dr. Sky.
That's right. There was a big congressional hearing yesterday, and everyone, including members of Congress, are acknowledging this is a serious national security incident. Here to help us break this down is Steve Cates, a.k.a. Dr. Sky. He's a veteran edutainer and infotainer who is an expert in all things related to space, astronomy, and looking up. And this was on full display in Congress yesterday, where a senior FBI official, a Mr. Wheeler, doesn't know who's operating the New Jersey drones or whether they pose a serious national security threat. Here's Mr. Wheeler in Congress yesterday. Listen to this.
In New Jersey.
So, sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, are the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL-FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at risk? Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions that could cause either national security or a public safety incident that would put Americans at risk?
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
On top of that, Congressman Chris Smith, Republican of New Jersey, yesterday said that police body camera footage, video from police body cameras, captured 55 drones coming in from the ocean off Island Beach State Park on Sunday night. The same day, Governor Phil Murphy is describing these drones, saying that it seems like as soon as you get a fix on them, as soon as we get eyes on them, they dart away and make themselves invisible. What are these? Is this something from our own military? Is this something from a foreign government? Is this a private military contractor? Or is this something otherworldly? If I have no idea any of those questions, but the only man who may is Steve Cates, our very own Dr. Sky. Steve, help us out. What is going on here?
Well, good morning, Frank. Good to be back on Cosmic Conversations, both locally and nationally, and wish everybody the best as we move into the holiday season. But, Frank, this is one of the strangest conundrums as you're reporting here. You would imagine the headline of this story being strange objects vis-a-vis like drones being seen over areas of remoteness like Nevada. But why then over some of the most populated cities and regions of the United States? So it becomes one of the strangest things. But searching through the information and listening to what you've been reporting over here on your own program, of course, on the other side of midnight, and doing it well, in my opinion, there's many theories here. And one of them, let's go back to basically what these things look like. And we're hearing all these different reports that you're saying, and in front of the testimony and having the FBI look at it. Well, my suggestion on this is, why don't we just track and trace one of these objects or follow it? We have sophisticated systems. Helicopters could do this, other aircraft. We don't hear anything about that at this point. In other words, you see this thing, allegedly the size of a small car or a small SUV. Why not track it and follow it and see what it does? But the strange thing, too, I'm seeing and reading reports that some of these objects, when they flew over individuals' vehicles, actually had the clocks change and time was changing.
Wow.
Now, that lends to some really strange technology. But, Frank, let's go back to locally what is in that part of New Jersey. And, again, I lived there for many years and used to head out into the, upper part of northwest New Jersey, the very famous location over there that's for so many years, the Picatinny Arsenal, started in 1880, developing gunpowder. But if you read into some of the things that they're doing, here we go. They develop new technologies. So if you're seeing all these objects, I'm not saying I know this. I mean, this is just mere speculation. But let's go back to some of the locations that could do this. Now, other people are saying, and you have some retired generals and people saying that they're EVTOLs or EVTOLs. What's that? Electric vertical takeoff and landing craft, simply called flying cars. Well, I don't know who's doing that. I don't know if you do or the listeners do. But allegedly, they don't have to file a flight plan if they're not flying, let's say, over 10,000 feet over, airfields. And we don't know for sure, but we know in drones, and I'm not a drone flyer, but if you're in a Class G drone, allegedly you're not supposed to fly higher than 400 feet with restrictions to, airports. And they're telling us that in the nation, there's almost 790,000 registered small drones. What leads me to worry about this or be concerned about it is when you're talking about these things, as the governor was reporting, Governor Murphy, that they fade out and, quote, just black out. That's really otherworldly, don't you think?
Yeah, it strikes me as very odd. Now, one of the congressmen said that he was talking with the local sheriff's department saying, why don't you guys try and shoot one of these down and then at least try and figure out what this is so we know what we're dealing with here? And basically, he said the response that they've gotten from federal aviation officials is that they're not permitted to do that without authorization from the Secretary of Defense. Do you think that that's forthcoming? I mean, there's a lot of concern about this among regular people and among elected officials. At what point does the government shooting one of these down to determine what they are?
Very good question. And I would say this way, I'm not responsible for any of that, nor are you, and probably not the listeners. But I would say this, if it's over water, fire away and bring the thing down. But overpopulated areas, like we're talking about that area of northern New Jersey, the whole area where more people are than probably most parts of the country, I don't think that's a very wise idea. So my simple common sense solution to this would be, when these things are visible, some kind of aerial platform that can fly fast, at least get some kind of intel on the thing. We have these military jets. Maybe you don't even need an F-18 with a, super deep infrared sensor camera. Just follow the thing or get some footage on the thing. So at least you can identify what it is. Does it have marking lights on it? Apparently they're seeing something. But the strange part, again, not to be repetitive, when we're seeing the thing black out or just totally go dark, that means there's some sort of command and control on board. So I don't know if I've answered anything, but I haven't seen one. I mean, out here in Arizona, we talk about this. But let's go back real quick to the history of these drone sightings. They're not just seen in the areas of the New York metro area. They're being seen all over the country. And this all started with military ships, naval craft, ocean-going vessels, seeing swarms of these strange things vis-a-vis the so-called tic-tac type events, not necessarily looking drone-like, but this is just one of the most amazing stories. But no, I definitely wouldn't shoot something down over, New Jersey, northern New Jersey or anywhere, because we don't know what it is, and I don't think that's necessary at this point.
So, Steve, obviously you've been in the military yourself. Do you think that this fits the profile of an experimental military aircraft of some type?
Some part of it does. I mean, when we're talking about an area, I'm looking at all other, and it's not just Picatinny Arsenal. There are other locations around there that have military, research going on. But I would say at this point in time, yes, I believe that that's one simple explanation. But when you talk about things, quote, vanishing or doing that, that leads to more of the tic-tac, quote, extraterrestrial or otherworldly, because I doubt if this is Russian technology. And I doubt if it's, Chinese technology. I don't think North Korea has this capability. But at this point, I wouldn't alarm people in those crowded areas. I don't think you would want one coming down over your home anytime soon or anybody else, because we really don't know what the object is at this point. Chase it over the ocean. Yes, there's an open area out there if you can down something like that. Because look how long it took us to knock down the Chinese balloon that came across America. Still a story that has so many mysteries behind it, too.
Last question on the drones, and then if people have questions about anything we're covering this hour or even things that I don't bring up, they're welcome to give us a call, and Steve Cates, a.k.a. Dr. Sky, will answer your questions at 646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635. You alluded to, as Governor Murphy did, that these drones have been described as sophisticated and capable of going dark when spotted. I would think that level of technological sophistication eliminates the possibility that these are hobbyist drones or some sort of elaborate prank by someone, right?
Sure, I agree with you 100%, Frank. It has to be, in other words, if you're seeing something as a person looking or seeing or chasing it, let's say another aircraft, and it goes dark, you know that it has a capability where it's being controlled by something. And it has some sort of sensor platform on there where it can do something and it can evade. And that leads, like you were saying, and we were both agreeing on, a higher level of technology than the average person. And not to knock people who are, quote, amateur drone pilots. That would be wrong. But no, I think that's well above their level or anybody's level of expertise at this point.
Interesting. All right. 646-720-0635. We will get to your questions in a moment. And then I have a lot of other things that we're going to get to. Apparently, there's been a strange new planet discovered. There was an earthquake in California that has some people, that had at the time anyway, people pretty concerned about a massive tsunami. A lot of other things that we're going to get to. We'll do it all on Cosmic Conversations straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan and Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan and Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like winding your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz.
Spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping into the future. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. I go through the revolution. Feed the babies.
This is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. Every 2 weeks, we turn this program into Cosmic Conversations, where we take advantage of the expertise and the booming, wonderful voice of the one and only Steve Cates, a.k.a. Dr. Sky. If you're interested in any of the subjects that we cover this hour, then you really must check out the Dr. Sky Experience. It's a terrific podcast. You could type the Dr. Sky Experience into any podcast app, and you can get it wherever podcasts are available, or you can just go to redapplepodcastnetwork.com and you can enjoy it. There's a ton of great stuff on there. Steve, let me ask you, what's the story with this new planet discovered around star system Kepler-51? Should people be packing their bags to visit anytime soon?
Hopefully not. The cost would be overwhelming, and not to use the word astronomical too much, but we all know that would be a little difficult at this time. So here's the story. The Kepler spacecraft, which its purpose was to identify stars that had planetary systems. And the first ones were like in the early 1990s. So we have thousands of these planetary objects around stars. Well, let's zoom in on the one that we're talking about now. Kepler-51 is a triple planetary system now. They just discovered the latest one, 51e. And this object, the planetary systems, are 2,600 light years away. And how they detect these, the James Webb Telescope does a good job on this. They actually do this by the dimming of starlight, the parent star, which is a sun-like star, interesting enough. Maybe habitation, who knows, around a sun-like star like we had in the Goldilocks zone. But they actually discovered this other object, and the other two objects that make up this three-planet-like system, they're like Saturn and Jupiter size, so they're pretty big. But the strange part about it, Frank, is amazing. They've called them a new classification called super puff planets, because the density of these are like cotton candy. Can you imagine that? It may have like an iron solid core, but the rest of it's this gaseous mess of, a soup of whatever. Who knows what it is, organic compounds. Now let's take a closer planet in our own solar system. People may not know this. Saturn, which is beautiful. I like to describe it as the original ring planet because of its discovery, one of the last of the ancient planets. And then we find out that if you had an ocean big enough, people find this and they say, really? Saturn could float in an ocean because its density is less than that of water, but I guess you'd have to figure a way to balance the rings. But what happens is this little planet goes around that star every 264 days. And now, just to end off on this, it's fascinating. It now gives astronomers and scientists a better understanding and maybe a new path to understanding how planets form, because we've gotten the old school way that gravity just pulled these rocks and these big things of nickel and iron, and they came together and heated up, and they have molten cores. That's a strange one. So we're learning so much by this great investment called the James Webb Telescope and the previous one called the Kepler Space Telescope.
All right. A lot of people very eager to chat with you. Let's do so at 646-720-0635. We'll begin with Pamela in New Jersey. Hi, Pamela.
Hi. Good morning. I'm wondering, since I'm from New Jersey, and this is it's already interfered with a Medivac rescue, and it's interfering with Essex County Airport. Pilots are complaining. I'm wondering if this is a cloaking Philadelphia experiment, military experiment.
Mm-hmm. I wish I knew, Pamela. I mean, that whole Philadelphia experiment where they allegedly took a ship, and somehow, magically, this is what really bizarre, many people may not know this, you do, that they had some technology where you could take that ship out and maybe just have it disappear. But the sad results upon reconstituting the ship, or at least that's how the story goes, that some of the bodies were like entrenched in the metal and it, somehow was a disaster. But no, I don't know about that. I mean, that's something interesting. That then to me, I would think maybe that's otherworldly technology if you could do that, because we still can't prove that the Philadelphia experiment was real. But it's a very good point. And the sorry thing is, you're right. This is interfering with local air traffic. But I think, Pamela, and wanted to hear your opinion, they should chase one of these things. And if, like I said before with Frank, if you want to shoot it down, please don't shoot it down over habitable areas. Try it over the ocean, but at least chase the thing to get some better intel. What do you think? That's interesting.
Pamela.
So that's my point. I think they already know what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think you're so right, Pamela. Just like what Frank talks about all the time, and I would agree, when are we ever going to know the truth about this whole thing called UFOs? If others have testified in Congress, the whistleblowers, that we allegedly have craft and bodies, we're smart enough to handle it. And I know we'd all be relieved to hear that this happened and that it's an ongoing thing.
Thanks, Pamela. 646-720-0635. Well, let's talk about what's going on the ground. California experienced a 7.0 magnitude earthquake, and a lot of people were concerned this might lead to a tsunami. It did not, although California has had that in the past, hasn't it?
Frank, this is one of the strangest things I'm going to say here, and I can't prove it, but I've been doing a lot of research on this. We all know the December 5th 7.0 quake. It happened just off the coast of California that people know near Portola. It's the junction of three fault lines called the Mendocino Triple Junction. Now, what makes this thing so strange? Here we go. And this has been reported that this particular earthquake signature, like when you see like somebody gets a cardiogram and they see the little needle go and they see the pattern. This particular earthquake did not have the normal recorded seismic, pattern. It had more of an explosive, interesting experience on paper, if you want to say how they record this. Now, people may say, well, what does that mean? But here comes the interesting part. They also detected high radiation levels were recorded by the EPA's, get a load of this, Radiation Monitor Network along the West Coast as far as San Diego. So what was it? Well, some people have looked to a nuclear-type detonation. Strange, but not likely. I don't know. But here's the backstory on that whole part of the country. And those listeners out there, we're not trying to alarm you. Back on the date of January 26, 1700, just north of that, by maybe 100 miles, a massive earthquake on a 9.0 on the Richter scale occurred. That was 13 miles off the Lincoln Beach in Oregon. And guess what? Now, we don't know this because people weren't around to have video cameras. Allegedly, a 100-foot tsunami washed off that particular event or out of that event, moving across and pushing such massive amounts of water deep inland into Oregon and Washington state. Now, if you look at the map right now, the big concern would be from geologists, the thing called the mega thrust, the feared Cascadia earthquake, which is in that same area that if it were replicated, let's say it had another 9.0, or that's really the top, almost the top of the chart. Nothing like that was recorded except for Chile in the 1960s and off the coast of Anchorage, Alaska, which did horrible destruction. But Frank, that could be a big concern for a massive tsunami. But let's go back real quick. If that signature was that of an explosion, we can't prove that it was some underwater nuclear device, but doesn't that lead to wonder, where does radiation readings come from something that doesn't have the footprint or fingerprint of a normal type earthquake? We need to do more research on that one. But just like we were talking with Pamela, and I'm sure listeners would agree, we can't even get a true answer about the UFOs, and we're certainly not going to get an easy one, I bet, on these drones yet. Isn't that fascinating, though, with the one in California?
It certainly is. 646-720-0635. Joe is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, listening on AM 910, the Superstation. Hello, Joe.
Good morning, Joe.
Frank, how you doing?
Great, Joe. What's your question for Dr. Sky?
Yeah, I was wondering if Dr. Sky ever expects that we'll be able to witness the supernova of Betelgeuse within our lifetimes.
Well, Joe, good morning and happy holidays. Let me say this. We've been waiting on that one, but astronomers have looked in the sky and they say that's probably the next best candidate, but nobody knows the timeline of this. It could have already happened, Joe, because it's 500 light years away. So I'm sitting here in Arizona looking out my window and I can see in the clear sky, I can see Betelgeuse right here. And you can too if you have clear sky, that left area of Orion. It's easy to see. But nobody knows for sure. But if it were to go supernova, and some are saying it could happen within years, maybe 1,000 years, I wouldn't, put my money on the thing yet as to the date. But if it does go, which it will sometime, it will be lighting up the sky like that of a quarter moon for maybe months to half a year. So that would be a significant change for people, even people that don't necessarily have a big interest in the sky. But, Joe, we don't know, but it is an older star. It's only 10 million years old. Go figure. 10 million is nothing like our sun, which is 4 billion. But it's an older supergiant star. And it just may happen. Maybe one day we'll be reporting it, right, Frank?
Let's hope so. Joe, thank you. 646-720-0635. All right. Obviously, we're coming up on Christmas. I think the next time we chat on the air after today, it will be Christmas Day. There are a number of theories from astronomy on the Star of Bethlehem. What can you tell us, either through the historical record or through what's in the Bible, about the Star of Bethlehem and what those wise men were up to?
Well, Frank, we could do shows and hours on it, but the quick summation would be this. According to many reliable astronomical reports, the three wise men probably came out of the area of Iraq, the seedling, or where civilization allegedly came from Mesopotamia. They traveled, of course, in many, many months, if not longer. And one of the reasons, again, that I talk about this is they were not astronomers. They were astrologers. So they had a keen sense of what was in the sky, but more so about how it affected lives. So whatever it was, whatever made them want to make this journey, this is interesting. But what we think, at least from the astronomical perspective, is that there are many theories, but one of the best ones to date, since we don't know the exact date of the birth of the Christ child because the calendar's off, we know for a fact that Jesus was probably born in the spring of the year, not in the winter. We pushed December 25th to make it convenient to an old celebration around something called Saturnalia. But what we think, in summation, April the 17th of 6 BC, there was a strange grouping in the sky. Now, here it is real quick. The planet Jupiter, the god of gods, was always revered. To the Jewish people, the sacred group of constellations in the zodiac was Aries the ram. So what was seen during this period of time is something very strange. The moon did an occult or eclipsed Jupiter and formed this amazing sight in the sky. So one of the theories is it involved the planet Jupiter, it involved the moon, and there were also some telltale planets that actually heralded this in before. So there was a number of these conjunctions, but the big one was that date that they go back in the astronomical calendar, April the 17th of 6 BC. So that's kind of interesting, don't you think? And we'll never know. Or simply this. How about this? I'm a man of faith. It could simply have just been a miracle, probably not a supernova, as we were talking with Joe about Betelgeuse going bright, or a comet, because comets, Frank, were looked at as, portents of doom. And during the time of Julius Caesar's death, they used to have, I think Shakespeare wrote in his great sonnet for the for Julius Caesar, the actual stage play, that when beggars are born, comets are not seen, but when kings die, this is the thing they see. They see comets when kings or people of power are born, when they die. But when beggars die, we don't see comets. So I doubt it was a comet because they were looked on as negative things, not positive.
All right, a lot of people eager to chat with you. 646-720-0635. Tom is in New Jersey. Hi, Tom.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
I hope I find you well. Listen, but my question is, in New Jersey, at least, when you buy a piece of real estate, technically, you buy it, you are granted everything below the property to the center of the earth, and technically everything to infinity, whatever that is, above you, except for where the government has control over the lanes, for air traffic. So there really technically isn't a reason why, except for damage it might do. There technically isn't a reason why you can't shoot something that's hovering over your property down.
Well, I don't know the laws on that. I mean, I'm saying you're probably right. But again, argue that, let's say not you, but if we took this collectively with the FAA, I don't know the actual real estate rules or the things back here in, say, in New Jersey. But the point is, if I saw a drone over my house and the thing was hovering, I don't know. I'm a firearms trainer. That's another life I lead. But the point of the matter is, yeah, I might be tempted to shoot it down. But the thing is, if it's something big as a car, Tom, I don't know what kind of firearms you got, but it probably needs something bigger than a simple shotgun.
Well, but just so I'm clear, Steve, people are not allowed to shoot these drones down without some sort of special authorization, right?
No. And then think about this. Now I'm going into the firearm world, which I never really talk about here. Anywhere you go, it's obvious a felony to just discharge a firearm in the air, unless you're into some crazy celebratory thing in the, like Iraq or something, when we used to see Saddam Hussein's people just firing AKs, wanting crazy in the air.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I don't know that. Maybe we should get an aviation lawyer on this one, or somebody who can talk about property rights. Yeah, because again, go ahead.
If someone comes onto your property, and they threaten you, you have the right to shoot them.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I know I'm way out of line here, or maybe out of focus, Frank, when I talk about firearm rules and regulations. It all depends. I mean, that opens up a whole nother can of worms about when and how you can use deadly force or shoot at someone. But the last thing I'll say about the defense of yourself, if somebody's running away and stealing your property, I don't know any state where it's legal to shoot them in the back doing something like that. There you go.
Yeah, you can't. But what you do is, that's when you drag them into the house.
Tom, thank you. People should consult with an attorney before taking Tom's advice on how to shoot people. All right.
I think that would be a good idea.
All right, Steve, let me pause, and we're going to continue. A lot of people eager to chat with you. We have 3 open lines if people want to jump on board with a question. 646-720-0635. There is a new space race in town, this time not between Russia and the United States, between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. What's going on? We'll find out. Iran, what are they doing in space? We'll find out, plus your questions. This is Cosmic Conversations. We'll continue straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Ray Dalio, legendary investor and New York Times best-selling author, wants to pass along his understanding of how countries go broke, because he believes the U.S. budget and debt situation needs to be addressed. To give you that knowledge, he has put the draft of his book, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle, online for free. It's available now at economicprinciples.org.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Lights, camera, innovation. Walt Disney Studios chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform the movie-making process. Together, we kept a remote production hub in Hawaii in sync with a team in California to bring Lilo and Stitch to theaters this summer. This is picture-perfect collaboration. This is Walt Disney Studios with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
in a flying saucer flew down to earth one day. Looked to left and right of it, couldn't stand the sight of it, and said, let's fly away. They took a look at a Western movie. Somebody heard them say, if a horse can be a star, think how dumb the people are, we'd better fly away. Then they shook their little green antennas.
Ella Fitzgerald singing about flying saucers. Steve Cates is an expert on many, many objects in the sky, at least what we know is in the sky. They call him Dr. Sky, and you can check out the Dr. Sky Experience anywhere podcasts are available, including on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Just go to redapplepodcastnetwork.com and search Dr. Sky. Steve, the world's two richest men and biggest space entrepreneurs both believe humanity's survival depends on life beyond Earth for different reasons. You have Blue Origin founder Jeff Bezos, who explained last week that his vision is to move all polluting industries into space to preserve Earth. His rival, Elon Musk, envisions inhabiting space as a way for humanity to live on beyond Earth if a cataclysm strikes our planet. Both of these men are pouring tens of billions of dollars into space travel with those end games in mind. Where do we see the next few years going with this Musk versus Bezos vision for the future of space exploration and space travel?
Well, it's a very good question. I think Bezos is going to catch up sooner or later. I mean, his is, how do I say, a slower program, but equally important. And as you correctly identify, Elon Musk, of course, with SpaceX, his programs seem to be everywhere. And to diverge a little bit, look at what happened with Artemis. We heard later, we heard earlier in the month that the Artemis mission is going to be delayed once again. And obviously, I think they're not going to say this out loud, and no ill, words toward NASA. It's just that they see the aggressiveness of what SpaceX is doing with Elon Musk, and they're going to have to do it. We've said it before. Don't rush this stuff when you're going to the moon. Do it right. Take your time. What's the big deal? What's the big race? But you're right. Musk is going to move humanity beyond the Earth, and Bezos wants to move these polluting industries off the Earth, both seeking natural resources beyond the Earth. So what I think is Musk will be in the lead, which he is right now. That's obvious. And then Bezos will, of course, move forward. He's got his New Glenn rocket that he's going to be, working on and hopefully launching in the next year. Another massive rocket to launch payloads into space. So I think the next, if I was an investor, I would probably look and see how I could get involved, or people out there listening. That may be a good venture in a, not as big a risk industry in the future. It looks bright.
Al is in New York City. Hello, Al.
Good morning, gentlemen. Dr. Sky,
good morning.
Thanks for a great year of entertainment and information and always keeping us informed. And I want to wish you and your whole family a happy holiday season.
And likewise, Al, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Cage. Yeah, my question is, I have two questions, if I may. If only one, no worries. One is, what if a really large asteroid that many times we see appear, many times it'll be weeks before, with no prior, saying, hey, it's coming, like somebody can tell in 5 years are coming. What would happen if one hit the moon? Would it affect our gravity? Would it affect our floods, as far as tidal surges? Mm-hmm. And could it change our day and night, amount of time, length of time?
Yes. Interesting. Here we go. I'll try to get the best answers here. I'm always honest. When we talk about the moon or these asteroids, the ones that we have to worry about are the ones that come from behind the sun. And that's giving us little or no warning. But the astronomers, to give everybody the positives here that they can sleep well at night, we've now had asteroids with only a few hours detection, and we actually calculated where they were going to hit. But let's take the other analysis that you talked about, or other situation, an asteroid that would hit the moon. If you take a look at the moon on any clear night that has, say, a full moon, and you see toward the bottom of the moon, this thing looks like the navel of an orange with rays coming out of it. That's a critical Tycho, about 60 miles across. It was hit by an asteroid maybe 1 million or 2 million years. Nobody knows. But a lot of material was blown off the moon and probably hit the Earth. So if a similar one of size were to hit the moon, you bet there would be some residual incoming debris, and that would be the meteor shower of all, of all history. Let's hope and pray that doesn't happen anytime soon.
Thank you, sir.
Al, thank you. 646-720-0635, 646-720-0635. Steve, besides the drones, which are an ever-present vision in the night sky in the Northeast, what else can people look forward to seeing in the coming weeks? What should people be on the lookout for, either with the help of some binoculars or with the naked eye?
Well, going after Al's question about something hitting the moon, we get one of the best meteor showers of the whole year. It's called the Geminids. And it peaks Friday night into Saturday morning. Where do you look? Look into the Northeast when you see Gemini rising. And also, just in that part of the sky, the red god of war, Mars, is there. And Mars is getting close. So the actual Geminid meteor shower is one of the better ones of the year. The problematic thing in the Northern Hemisphere is most people like myself, if you're out there and it's super cold, it's not like lying out in a lawn chair in the summer. But there's probably something about this meteor shower that many people may not know. Most come from the debris of comets. And this one is strange because it comes from an asteroid, so-called rock comet, whatever that is, like a rubble pile, that when it got too close to the sun, it blew off all this material. So the orbit of the Geminids is from an asteroid called 3200 Phaethon. So in simple language, if you go out and look, let's say 10 o'clock at night on Friday night the 13th, Friday the 13th, and you look high up into the northeast and it's clear, the only problem you'll have is a nearly full moon will reduce the number of meteors. Geminids are known for bright and maybe slow-moving meteors, or sometimes very fast, but they're all debris, as all meteor showers are from comets. Then we find out that Jupiter is in the northeast. Now, that's beautiful. It's the closest that it's been to Earth for the whole year and a half, and that's beautiful. We're just showing a group of people tonight that in telescopes, and they were just astounded that you could see the moons of Jupiter and all the different weather on the surface of Jupiter. Venus is your beautiful planet in the southwest. If you want to move into that, topic of the Star of Bethlehem, magical, we could look at that as being a symbol in the sky. Venus is brightest, and you can't miss it in the southwest. And of course, we move into a new season as we move toward the winter solstice, as we move toward the 21st. Interesting stuff.
Absolutely, indeed. 646-720-0635. Paul is in Breezy Point. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, Paul.
Frank, long-time listener.
Thank you.
And Dr. Sky.
Thank you.
I think these drones, if the government was so concerned, if they know what's going on, otherwise they would take them out. And then what about these chemtrails, the chemtrails that we see all day long? Look, we're not doing anything about that. That's a real concern to me, the chemtrails. What do you think?
Well, Paul, you're right. I mean, this is interesting. A lot of people, there are two sides of the coin. Is that somehow nefarious people are spreading and, putting pollutants and other things into the atmosphere. The other side of the coin, if you talk to pilots, it's just a normal change from temperature from jet engines, that as you move up into the stratosphere, water vapor is going to make trails. I tend to think it's trails, not necessarily, chemical poisoning. But then again, I may not be right. I may not be right on that, Paul. It needs more research. We don't know.
Paul, thank you. Hey, Steve, what is a black moon?
Well, this is interesting. We hear about full moon, supermoons. Here's the weirdest one of all. A black moon is the second, and many people have a different definition, but mine is this. It's the second new moon in the calendar month. So December had a new moon, which you can't see. That's the dark of the moon, on the 1st of December. And then this month squeezes in a second new moon on the 30th. So simply, a black moon would be the second new moon in a calendar month. And then many people, very much being smart and obvious, they would say, well, why discuss it? Well, the only time you can see a so-called black moon is when you're looking with solar glasses, when you see the moon come across the sun, because that is a new moon, whether it's a partial eclipse, get those solar glasses on, and whether it's a total eclipse, you can take them off when the moon is directly in front of the sun. So the second full moon, there's other definitions, but that's the one I'll stick with from strongly.
646-720-0635. Tony is in Clifton. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Dr. Sky. Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Interesting topic tonight, and I love the skyline. It's so beautiful. I wish I could see the star, the Bethlehem Star. But talking about the drones, I think all these drones are sort of intruding on our beautiful airspace. And we do have one senator who has the solution, and I just wanted your thoughts on it because we, like Frank said, we have been so lax about this. And the drones are bigger than the typical hobbyist drones. They're much bigger. Right. So we have a Senator John Bramnick who said that there should be a limited state of emergency banning all drones until the public gets some explanation, which, as we started the show with one of your callers, is God knows when we'll get the explanation. But the ban on these drones should happen because these drones, people are saying, are not, there's no number on them, there's no license on them, there's no control over them, and they are not hobbyist type. And I think in the 50s, when we think of all those movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still, as soon as something happened, we were on a state of alert. And we've lost that in this country, obviously. So drones are the least of it, as Frank has been saying. But this senator is saying that, there should be a state of emergency and limiting the bans. And anyone who's in our airspace should do that. This should be something that they're perpetuating it by not stopping it. And any drone that, isn't identified should be, this is our airspace. So I think the sky is so beautiful in the wintertime. We don't want to see this, Dr. Sky. What are your thoughts?
Tony, you said it well. I think the senator's proposal is logic. I mean, let's shut down, God forbid when we had 9/11, they shut down the airspace, but that was for different reasons. But in this case, until we can identify what this platform is, anything flying under the so-called ban now gets to be looked at as something that's violating, in violation. So simply let's go after it, find out what it is. But I think we would all agree, Tony and Frank, that we don't want to shoot down drones over North Jersey or any habitated areas. If it's over the ocean, go for it. But I agree with you that what the senator's saying is 100% right. But who knows? Let's see if we can make that happen.
Thanks, Tony. I may invite John Bramnick on the show to talk about this, even though, he's a state official. This is an issue that people are interested in all over the country. And he's a very funny guy, so I may invite him on. Steve, I alluded to Iran. Iran says it conducted a successful space launch program. It's been criticized by the West. Obviously, there's a lot of concerns about Iran's nuclear ambitions. How concerned should we be about Iran's space-faring ambitions?
Well, I think the space thing is very important because until we can find out how we can curtail their ability to develop a nuclear weapon that can be put on a missile or launched if they already have it, now we find out on December 6th, they do launch the two-stage Simorgh rocket, which included 2 payloads. They weighed about 600 pounds. Now, that may not seem a lot to everybody listening because remember, if you go back in the chronology of the space program, that's as if we're back in the area of 1960 or 61 in their time, which is now 2024. So it's apparent that we have to be concerned about this because if you can now put something into space, but they had one starting in February of 2010, which is interesting. They launched a rocket with, get a load of this, they had some experiment on board, which was a suborbital. In other words, it didn't get to space. They had 1 rodent, 2 turtles, and several worms. So that was an experiment to see if living creatures could endure the habitation of what, let's say, Alan Shepard did when he did his first suborbital flight back in May, I believe, of 1961. But I think in simple, English, we should be very concerned about a country that's on the brink or has already developed a small-yield nuclear weapon. Now that could be launched to a farther distance than just the area, let's say, around Iran, Israel, or the Middle East.
Bill is in Huntington. Hi, Bill.
Okay. Now, astronomers, if they can see a star with an optical telescope, they can determine its direction with a lot of precision.
Correct.
But the distance is harder, and I think that if it's a nearby star by less than 10 light years, they can, maybe when you look the distance up in a list, it'll be accurate to like a 20th of a light year. But then you get about to 80, and maybe it's plus or minus 5. And others, when you look at a constellation, there's the bright giants that are far away, and they can be hundreds of light years. And I don't think they can actually determine the distance very good.
Well, you become my best friend, Bill, you become my best friend. Let me tell you why. I talk about the star Betelgeuse, and they say, if you look this up in a book, it has a distance of 500 or 600 light years away. Well, that's not, exactly hitting the bullseye. And the simple answer to this is, these closer stars are measured by, their distance is measured by a thing called parallax. So in other words, if you take your finger and put it in front of your eye and move it as far as your arm, and you go blink left eye, right eye, you see the small little shift. But if you bring it really close to your eye, you see a big shift. So there comes a point where parallax doesn't become a distance measuring device. It becomes where you have to take a spectrum of a star. And that's, again, you're right. The farther these objects are, the more difficult it is to get a precision of distance. And I'm talking about stars at this point. But that's an interesting story. You bring it up, Bill, is a good one.
Thank you, Bill. Everybody else that's holding, I'm sorry we couldn't get to you, but we'll put you to the front of the list the next time. Steve, the hour always flies by every time we're together. I'll see you on Christmas Day.
Yes. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. And thank you for having me.
And in the immortal words of the great Casey Kasem, keep reaching for the stars, but always keep your feet on the ground.